Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Light After Trauma podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Scolari. Just taking a deep breath. I encourage you to take a deep breath with me. It is Friday, or at least it is Friday as I am recording this. When this comes out, it will be a Tuesday, but summer feels like it is upon us and life feels good. You know, even in the places that don't feel so good, it feels manageable. And it has been a long time in lockdown, and it's really adjusting to a new normal. And I know people are starting to freak out a little bit about what that means and what that will look like. And right now I'm just riding the wave, which is very nice. And I hope that you are doing your best to ride the wave as well, because there's definitely going to be an adjustment period, just trying to get back to a new normal. I'm not sure if we can ever go back to normal. I think it's just going to be a new normal. So if you are enjoying the newfound freedom that we have, I'm so happy for you. I'm enjoying it too. Today, we have with us a special guest, Zack S. Rutledge. Zack is an ACE certified personal trainer, an ACE certified fitness nutrition specialist, and a certified brain health trainer through the Functional Aging Institute. He has a black belt in karate and has practiced yoga for almost a decade, finishing up his Yoga Alliance teacher certification in August of 2021. It's just in a couple months. That's awesome. He holds an MA from American University in Washington, D.C., and starts his licensed professional counselor program in January 2022. I'm really excited. One of the things that Zack did not mention is that he has a book out, and I was so honored to be able to read the book and to go through it, because it's awesome. It's an incredible book, and we are going to dive into it today. He really talks about ways to tackle depression. So let's just get right into it. All right. So hello, Zack. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that I'm so happy for you to be here. I was just saying as I was recording your introduction that it's, this book is really, really important. I know we're going to talk about depression, but and you did not mention the book in your bio. So I threw that in there. I'm like, oh, and there's also this, on top of all that he's doing, there's also this incredible book that is the Depression Relief Playbook.
That's it.
So where do we even start? All right. So I think my first question that I have for you is like, how did you even develop a passion for this? How did you get to where you are now? I know you talk about it a little bit in the book, but if you could expand on it on here.
Okay. So I will give the very abbreviated version of the first part of my story so I can get to this second part. So what happened was, as a kid, I went through some, I guess they could be called chemical depression issues, and we'll get more to that later, I'm sure, just because I had a very stable, loving childhood. It was great. But, only in hindsight, I noticed that there were some issues going on. So when I was 18, my best friend was killed. And then I went through a very deep depression. I promise I'll keep this part brief. And then what happened was, so how I got into, I guess, helping people was I ended up becoming a personal trainer around the time I graduated from college. I graduated from college late because, not extremely late, I was 26. But I graduated late because of some of my depression issues, and I was in a pretty serious place. So I got this personal trainer thing. Just it was almost an ego thing. I was just looking for another thing to kind of fill that void, right? And it was part of my journey, as I say, building myself back up brick by brick. And then when I started actually working with clients, that was when the fire was lit, so to speak. And I just loved it. So I ended up I mean, I had a regular full-time job, but I was doing that on the side. And then I said, hey, I really would like to expand on this. I became a fitness nutrition specialist. And, the brief version is when I was working with clients with their nutrition issues, we weren't talking about nutrition. They were not bringing that up. They knew what to eat and they knew what not to eat. I mean, I would say 80% of the time. And it was a lot of deep stuff. And I wanted to work with them. I did what I could. And that was what, one of the things that ultimately led me to I can't believe I'm doing this to myself, going back for the second master's degree to become a therapist. So yeah, that's the very abbreviated version. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you wanted to be a personal trainer to be able to help people, right? But then as you're talking to people, you're realizing that like the nutritional problems are so much deeper than like that surface level, like, I don't know what to eat type thing, because that's really not the problem. You end up talking to people about like the stressors in their life and like the other things that are going on. And that was sort of when it clicked for you. That's like, oh, like I actually really want to be able to help people in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just the nutrition stuff. Of course, it pops in when I'm training people, stuff pops up. And it just turned into like my primary passion as opposed to my quote unquote side gig. I wanted to make healing, I guess, in a way, my main thing.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And then where did the inspiration to write this book come into play?
So, it happened. I put the book together because of COVID. So when I was in grad school the first time, I went for film, and I was doing the training on the side, but I was concentrating on film. And at that point, I was a few years out of my deep depression, and I had people reaching out to me saying that they were extremely depressed because they knew my past, and they wanted to know like tips and tricks and things that I did. So I would end up sending them emails because I would tell them and they would forget, so I'd send these emails to them or, Facebook messages or whatever. And then when COVID hit, the same thing kind of happened. I had a lot of people reaching out to me saying like, hey, I'm having a really tough time. Because one thing I noticed was a lot of, let's just say quirks, things like OCD or depression or what have you, would kind of spike during the COVID for a lot of people.
Oh, yes.
It was a really stressful time, obviously. Yes. And so people were reaching out to me again. So I kind of said to myself, you know what? It's just going to be easier for me to write a book and put this all together in one thing, because I was constantly going back to all these old emails or thinking of new things. And I said, you know what? Yeah, let's put this book together. And then I can get this out to just hand it out to anyone who asks. And that was kind of honestly how it started. It was a very organic thing. Yeah.
I love that. And okay, here's what I love the most about your book is when people come in or come into my office or go into anybody's office or anybody who's struggling with depression, right? A lot of times what we tell people is like, it's not a quick fix. And I think that that's true. It's not a quick fix, but somebody like myself and like other people want a quick fix, right? And I think that's right. We all want a quick fix. And I think that's why, a lot of people turn to numbing out through like drugs, alcohol, food, whatever. We want that instant gratification. The thing I love about the book, and that is even so evident in the title, is that this gives you the quick fix. It's like a quick fix feel to it, where it's like, yes, depression is kind of a long-term thing, but there are things that you can actively do, concrete changes you can make in your life to help ease that depression. And for somebody like me and so many others who, when we have those like bouts of depression or, we're in a really bad way, we just need relief. And the last thing we want to hear, especially when we're at a point where we're feeling like suicidal and we're considering taking our own lives, it's like, I need something and I need it now. And I love that this book really, it covers all of that.
Yeah, thank you. It was first off, we should say it is short, because the last thing I wanted to do when I was in my deepest depression was to read 350 pages of something.
Who can do that, right?
When you're depressed, it's not going to happen. I couldn't get through one television program. I couldn't get through 30 minutes of a TV show when I was in my deepest bouts. So yeah, so what I did was I basically, like I said, when I built myself back up brick by brick, this took years and years and years. So what I wanted to do was get this book together that was all of these little bricks in kind of, in, like you said, it's these actionable things you can do. Because what I want to do is speed this up for people. I want to save them a few years of their lives, like trying to sort out, what works for them. It's like, these are the things that I really found. And it's things that you can do. I think the hardest part for some people is actually getting up to do some of the things, which is why I have those first couple chapters on like mindset and like, I guess just my intro is just relating to people, letting them know I understand what this is like. I totally get where you're coming from, but if you can just turn that little bit of a switch, just do one little thing and then do one little next thing, you're going to slowly pull yourself out. And even if we don't get you to, a perfect 10 human in that day, if we can get you from a 2 to a 6 or 7, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to make it, thank you for pointing that out. I wanted to make it as actionable as possible. Yeah.
Yes. And I think you're exactly right. That is also what's so important is even the length, right? It's concise. It's very clear. It's very relatable. And it's truly a gift to people who are in the trenches, as some of my clients like to tell me. Sometimes my clients come in and they're like, man, I'm really in the trenches this week. Mm-hmm. It's a great book for when you really are in the trenches. And it's like, all right, this book is like, it's a comfort in itself, because it's like, listen, you don't have to figure out all of this today. Open up this book. I'm going to tell you one little tiny thing that you can do to make your life a little bit better. And I love that.
And then stack them. That's the important thing. That's another important thing.
Brick by brick.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for saying that. I mean, I should say I'm just completely honored to be here, right? Because this is like really cool for me to be talking to somebody like you. And I kept it short because I was thinking, what would I read as a 20-year-old, right? I want to say this the right way because it's not bragging, right? Because in no way am I a perfect person. Okay, it's in no way. But one of the really nice things somebody said to me was that this is a really good book, even for people who aren't depressed. And I was like, oh, thanks. Like for people who are just like looking to improve their lives. I was like, oh wow, that's really nice. Like, thank you so much. Because a lot of times I joke that I wrote this book for the worst possible sales. Like I wrote this for an audience that is not going to go out and buy a book, right? They're not going to seek out the help. So in a way, I kind of wrote it as a gift, but I didn't want it to seem like gimmicky. I didn't want to say like, hey, buy this for somebody, because I didn't want to seem like a sales grab type thing.
Right.
But in a way, it really was written as a gift to, because I know it's tough to reach out for help sometimes.
It's so tough. It's so tough. And I love what you said about, and I have so many questions on my mind, and there's so many things I want to ask you.
I'm here.
My brain is going a mile a minute. But that actually, it just clicked for me too, right? This is a book that is great for somebody even who isn't struggling with depression, because it's almost like, it's preventative. Like this is a book truly, it's a genuine wellness book. And like, listen, for the listeners out there, y'all know how I feel about wellness and the wellness industry and how fraudulent it is. I know we've talked about this, but this is a genuine wellness book. One that really is like one size fits all for all people. So I just want to go back to something that you touched on, like honestly, 10 minutes ago at this point, but you started to talk about depression and the different types of depression. And one thing that you talked about in the book that I really would like for you to expand on, because I'm interested to hear your perspective on this, is you said that a lot of professionals tend to like miss this idea that depression is more of a feeling rather than like a result of something that has happened in your life specifically. Can you expand a little bit more on that, like your viewpoint on the different types of depression?
Sure. Yeah. So, and I'm sure you know this, but and it absolutely happened in my life. Depression comes in different flavors, I call it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they can come from different. It can come from different causes. So, like, some people are dysthymic, right? So, for people who are listening, it's that low level, and then when something traumatic happens, you dip down into this deep trench, which I think may have, described me. There could be things purely brought on by traumatic events, like a PTSD type depression. So there are different flavors. Interestingly, and I know you know this, but for your listeners, a lot of people are saying, treating gut health is a good way to work on your depression. They're giving probiotics because you actually create more serotonin in your gut than you do your brain. Now,
yes.
I say,
thank you for saying that. Nobody has ever said this on the podcast before, and I am enamored. Can you please repeat that? Like, everybody listen to this loud and clear. Say that again.
Okay. So I would argue that this is another reason to keep a good diet, right? That you create more serotonin in your gut than you do in your brain. So some people are actually giving depressed people probiotics and trying to get those bacteria back in like a good balance. Let's just say, now I personally believe that could be the case sometimes. I don't think that's the catch-all. I don't think there is a catch-all. Just so,
yes.
And in that token, so that being said, right? So like, let's just say if I had a traumatic event, giving me probiotics wouldn't be much of a help, right? So that's why I come at it. I call it the D-Day approach. So we come at it from every angle. So whether it's a gut issue or it's a brain issue, because I even talk about medication in there, whether it's a traumatic issue, I talk about therapy in there, right? We're trying to come at it from with everything, right? So that's kind of treating. So if we don't know exactly what's off, and you're teaming up with somebody like you, like an expert, and you're eating the right things, and you're putting all these things together, you're going to have I personally think you're going to have a much greater chance of success rather than relying on one silver bullet, right? Because there's no one cause.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I also agree that it's definitely not, that is not one size fits all, where it is different for everybody. But when we take what you have coined as like, right, the D-Day approach, and we attack it from all angles, you're going to find what's going on, and you're going to be able to heal. I know for me, I think my depression, it was a result of definitely PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last couple of months, and this is also part of why I'm so excited to talk to you about this stuff is because I have had my own journey with realizing that what was going on in my gut was causing my depression. And it took me a long time to get there, to even realize that, until I started to learn that like the majority of serotonin is actually like made in your gut. And I went to a functional medicine doc, and she was able to help me identify which foods my body truly was hating. And after cutting out these foods, giving my body the time and the space to heal, taking the appropriate supplements, I am in a better headspace than I have ever been in my entire life. I feel like I see the world so much differently because I cut out certain things, and my gut is truly healthy. Like I used to get 10 hours of sleep a night, and then I would wake up and not have the energy to walk downstairs.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm 29. Why am I acting like I'm 150? The change in what I was eating changed all of that.
Wow.
And that's, when I say change, just to be clear, like I am not talking about being restrictive. That is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, for me specifically, I had food allergies that I was truly unaware of: dairy, gluten, garlic, honestly, everything.
Which is really common, right?
So common, and so many people don't know it.
Yeah. I think I mentioned in the book too, getting an allergy test, because really, really helpful. I didn't need the allergy test because I know now. I mean, it's very apparent. I think my body's become more sensitive to. It's funny, like certain dairies, like a glass of milk will destroy me, but I can have like butter or things like that. But it's funny, right? But yeah, like I would bet a lot of people. Well, look, it's true. A lot of people have a lot of intolerances.
Yeah.
It's not doing your body any favors. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So yes, you touch on all the different types of depression. And, so if you could give a synopsis of, like, can you walk us through the book? So you break down your story, you talk about depression, you go into the mindset, and then can you break down more of it from there?
Sure. Well, let me say first, because the mindset's kind of like a weird thing to talk about, just because it's not concrete. It's not concrete steps. If anybody wants that chapter, just shoot me an email and I'll send them that chapter. Because we're not going to go too into depth on that today, because it's just a weird thing to talk about. So shoot me an email. I'll send them that chapter. All right. So.
And I'll put your email in the show notes, so
cool.
that people have easy access to be able to reach out.
Cool. Thank you so much. So anyway, as far as building back up brick by brick, like you said, there's the intro, there's the mindset, which is just to kind of light that fire under you. So it's that relating to you. It's the getting you into gear, coming at this with the right approach, with the right intentions. So I like to start with the physical aspect. Okay. And this isn't to look like, a bodybuilder. This is like getting your physical structure in order. And I like it because it's the most concrete thing in the book. And you tend to, just like you said, you tend to notice things pretty quickly, right? Like if you get your, I think I have it in 2 separate chapters, but I have the fitness and nutrition. But if you get that dialed in first, that's going to kind of like, I'm trying not to make too many like battle references, but it's going to like simplify the battlefield. I hate that. I shouldn't have called it.
I love it. I'm here for it.
I regret calling it the D-Day approach, but that's just what popped to mind. But anyway, yeah, you're just like.
I think that's the perfect. It's the perfect analogy. I think it's perfect.
Okay, great. We'll go with it. So yeah, so that's the first place I like to start. So we go with the fitness, we go with the diet, and then I actually have a section on supplements in there. And I, of course, I have all the disclaimers, but it's good to repeat this. You always have to check in with your primary care physician, because we don't want any of these things interacting with anything you take, right? So one of my absolute favorites is turmeric. And I mentioned this in the book. Taking a capsule of turmeric is like eating 1,000 turmeric roots, right? So you're better off with the capsule. I know people cook with it, but the capsules are great. But you also want to have a little bit of black pepper in that capsule. About half of the capsules you find will have a little bit of black pepper in there. Mm-hmm. And if there's not, just put a little pepper on your food when you take the capsule, because what happens is that black pepper increases the bioavailability of that turmeric, the curcumin. And then your body.
That's what it's called, right?
It can be called, you'll see it as either turmeric, curcumin, curcuminoids. It's all the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And it increases that bioavailability, so you can absorb it way easier. Otherwise, it just passes through your system. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. So yeah, I go into stuff like that, and like my favorite supplements. One of the reasons I really like turmeric is because it helps with inflammation. One of the theories on depression is that inflammation can really contribute to it, right? So, which is another reason, like you were just saying, getting the foods that don't agree with you sorted out, right?
Yeah.
So I run through a bunch of different things, working on your relationships and working on the right media. I go through that. There's actually a chapter in that. And then I essentially end it with medication. I think there may be a chapter after that, but the medication I ended on because that was my last step. Now, it took me years and years and years, but I'm glad I did it that way. And this is why. I built myself up, and I built up so many practices from my martial arts, like my meditation and yoga and the diet and the working out, like we said. And, I worked on everything I sharpened the sword as much as I possibly could. And then I felt like, okay, I still need something else. I still need something else, because at 8:00 at night, it was always 8:00 at night, things would spiral out. Like I'd be good all day. And then 8:00 at night, I don't know if it was a testosterone drop thing, because men's testosterone tends to drop later at night. I don't know what it was, but I needed that extra boost to get me the rest of the way. Yeah. So we talk about a lot of things. Sorry, I talk so much. You can just cut me off.
No, you are absolutely fine. I'm thinking to myself, I know that the nighttime, and especially for the trauma, any kind of trauma survivors, or anyone who has been through any type of traumatic loss, the nighttime is always the hardest. It's just the absolute hardest.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, when you say like I spiraled out, and if this is too personal of a question, please feel free to tell me to back off, and I will.
No, you can't offend me. You can ask me anything you want.
What did that look like for you? What did spiraling out look like for you? Because like you said, depression looks a little bit different on everybody. So what did that look like for you?
So when I say that, when the 8 p.m. would get a little darker, I'd spiral out. I should mention that by that point, I was way, way, way better than I was, when I was 19 and really struggling all day. And then my nights would be way worse. So I'm just saying, like, things would turn negative. I was letting my brain run my mind is kind of the way it felt. And my thoughts would just turn dark. I would start looking at the negative sides of everything. I was fixating on things like death. I was fixating on like these things that really were not serving anyone, with no, and just seeing the dark side of everything. But, I was still much, much, much better. It was just that I was dipping down lower than I should have. And I'm on an SNRI, which was actually, I don't talk about it in the book, I don't think, but I actually, it wasn't just the death of my friend that had me spiral out of control when the depression was really deep. I actually dealt with some chronic pain issues. So the SNRI really helped with the nerve pain. They actually give it to a lot of people with fibromyalgia for their nerve pain. Yeah. But yeah, it just topped it off. It felt like, okay, now everything's a lot easier. Yeah.
That's so important, because so many people, I think, beat themselves up when they do, quote unquote, everything that you're supposed to do to help aid with their symptoms. But still, kind of like you said, when that sun goes down, or like when it turns 8:00, it's like, it still just feels unmanageable. And it's just, people don't have to suffer. And I love this idea, and this phrase. I sure as hell did not coin it, but I've been reading on line that people are making like t-shirts now that's like, if your brain can't make it, like, store-bought is fine. And I just love that, like, store-bought serotonin, it's fine. And SSRI and SNRI, it is totally fine. So that's the other thing that's fantastic, is that you're so open about all of the possibilities, right? And that it is a possibility to do all these things and still need to take medication, and that is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't always open about it, to be honest. But yeah, because there was a lot of hesitancy, and I wanted to be clear about that, and I wanted to clear up a lot of the myths too, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Yeah, so I'm hoping. Well, of course, I'm hoping read the book. People who read the book will read that chapter, but I hope people really take that one to heart too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this book. So when you first hit your like major depressive episode, you said about like 19 or
18.
18. Is this book like, do you think that when you were 18, you would have really benefited from having a book like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was interesting thinking about myself at that age as I was writing this, because I was like, what's going to resonate with that person who's in that that deep of a hole, so to speak. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting. But I mean, I wouldn't have released, or I wouldn't be like doing podcasts like that if I didn't believe in it so much, right? So yeah, I really do believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked that question because I bet, as I was going through the book, I think one of the things that I was thinking to myself is how healing this must have been for you. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm kind of realizing it's almost like you're giving like 18-year-old you what you needed as well, through writing this book, which I think is so powerful.
Yeah, thanks. It was, to be honest, it was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was just a good time, because that eventually somebody's going to read the thing. So even if it helps two people, whatever, somebody was going to read it. So it was actually really fun to do it.
Yes. And you're helping more than just two people, right? Even though if two people is all you help, that's still incredible and a job well done. But before we started recording, like, let's have this bragging moment. I'm totally going to bring this back up. Tell me the Canada story.
So I actually had a psychologist reach out to me today. She's from Canada, and she said that she loves the book so much that she's actually recommending it to her patients, to her clients. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I just I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited. In this book, it's almost you can tell it's like you said, you talk about it almost like it was like effortless. And it seems like maybe it's just years of like, you've been doing all this work for all these years, and now it just like came out of you on paper.
Yeah, essentially condensed the best bits. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is next for you? What's next for you? You've got a book out, you've got people in other countries contacting you. Like, where are we going next?
So I told you that like the personal training and all that was my part-time job. But I didn't say my regular full-time job was video production. And I went to grad school for film. I'm actually shooting my first full-length film in October. No, I'm sorry, August. So yeah, I'm shooting a movie in August. And then
That's so cool.
Yeah, pretty exciting. Actually, you're not too far from me. If you wanted to be an extra, if you want to read a couple of lines, I can have you.
Hello, my dream come true. Let me know day, time. I will be there with bells on.
Awesome. We're shooting in the Princeton area. I'm sure you know where that is. So anyway.
Yes, it's like my favorite part of New Jersey.
Cool. We'll talk about that after we record.
Yes.
But, yeah, so I'm shooting this movie, and then it's really well, I finished up my yoga teacher training in August, and I get ready for grad school in January. Yeah. Start my LPC. Yeah.
And then ultimately the goal for you is you want to become a therapist, and you want to be able to help people. Is there like a specific like niche of people that you want to help? Or is it kind of like, well, I'm just going step by step, day by day, seeing where life takes me type of thing?
Well, as of right now, I think anxiety and depression would be a nice fit. That just feels natural to me. And that's kind of where my passion is right now, of course, with the book and everything. But we'll see how it goes, Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. You never know. You never know where you could end up.
Yeah.
I know I sure as hell did not see myself ending up where I am. But
right. And that's what a lot of people tell me. They say that they're surprised at where they ended up. So I'm expecting the unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected. And it's a beautiful thing. So where is your book sold? Where can people find it? Where can they buy it?
I honestly, I did the laziest thing possible. It's up on Amazon, and it's the only place you can get it. I don't have like a big social media. Like it's up on Amazon. I'm kind of doing it like the power of attraction thing, like hoping that if the quality is there, people will find it. Yeah. Yep. So that's it.
Love it. So I will grab that link And then if people have any questions or they want to reach out to you and they want to ask anything, they can just use the email that I will include in the show notes as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, they're more than welcome.
Perfect. I will put the link to your book and your email in the show notes for the listeners, to the lovely and wonderful listeners out there. I am also going to be posting the link to this book in the Light After Trauma Facebook group, because I know a lot of the folks in that group are always asking for new books and great reads. And this is one of them. This truly, truly is one of them. It's phenomenal. It is short, it's concise, it's clear, it's relatable. So highly recommend. We'll post that. If you are not in the Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Thank you so much, Zack, for coming on the show. It was truly an honor.
No, thank you. The honor's all mine. Really. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for listening, everyone. For more information, please head over to lightaftertrauma.com, or you can also follow us on social media. On Instagram, we are at lightaftertrauma, and on Twitter, it is at lightafterpod. Lastly, please head over to patreon.com/lightaftertrauma to support our show. We are asking for $5 a month, which is the equivalent to a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So please head on over again. That's patreon.com/lightaftertrauma. Thank you, and we appreciate your support.